A very good morning to all, and as you all know that this pandemic disease has spread a lot. So this is the only way to come in contact with you and come in interact with you, that is by this video. So for that reason, we all are making videos on different subjects so that it can be a lot of helpful to you. So here I have come up with biology, so I'll be taking your biology, and the other subjects will be taken by the respective teachers, so that you will come to know very shortly. And but before starting this chapter and before starting this subject, so I want to make one thing very clear, that after every video or every session of the class, now you see that the entire chapter will not be covered in one video because it becomes too lengthy. So a particular chapter may be divided into different sessions and different videos. So at the end of each session, that means at the end of each video, then you will be getting a assignment based on the part which was taught in that particular session. So what you have to do is, so you have to answer the questions which are given in the assignment in your fair copy. Okay, so each assignment has to be written in separate pages. So do not mix up all the assignments in one topic itself. So if there is one assignment in one session, so that should be separated from the other. That means say for example, this will be your class 1, that means the first session of this chapter. So at the end of this session, you will be getting an assignment. So in that, what you have to write, assignment number, assignment, you will be writing at the top. That means you will be writing the chapter's name at the top, then assignment number 1, and then you will be answering the questions which are there in the assignment. So you will be getting somewhere around 5 to 6 questions in each of the assignments. So you have to answer all these questions by going through the lessons, because that only the questions will be given. You have to find out the answers from the lesson and write down the answers. Okay, so each assignment should be separate, it should not be mixed up. Am I clear now? Okay then, so without wasting time, let us start the first chapter and the first session of this biology class. And before starting this chapter, I want to ask you that, or tell you that it's very critical position right now. So you have to take care of yourselves. Make sure that whenever you are going out, you wear mask, you are following all the protocol of COVID, that is all the rules of the COVID. Maintain distance and be safe, stay home as far as possible, okay, and save your yourself as well as your family members. So if you follow the protocol, so think that you are saving your family members as well as your other members of your society. Okay, so anyway, without wasting time, let us start the chapter. Okay, so our first chapter to this question, to this subject, biology. Okay, now we all know that one of the most important aspect of the nature of or the living organism, what is the most important function that is that the nature wants the living organism carry out? One of the most important function that the nature needs the living organism carry out is reproduction. That is the most important function. Okay, reproduction. Now, Reproduction is, you all have come across this topic earlier also, okay, in your lower classes. Reproduction, that means reproducing of oneself, or rather say, reproducing a young one of its own kind. That means every living organism reproduces a young one which is similar to itself. Okay, so that is what reproduction, and it is very important function, or it is important aspect that is being carried out in the nature. So whether it is animals, whether it is living, single celled organism, whether it is multicellular organism, whatever the organism might be, if it is a living organism, then it shows reproduction. So here we will focus our discussion in plants. How do plants reproduce, and what are the different characteristics of the reproductive organs present in the plants? Okay, well, you know that reproduction can be broadly categorized into two. One is asexual reproduction, okay, asexual reproduction. So reproduction can be categorized. So this is the two categories of reproduction. One is your asexual reproduction, the other is your sexual reproduction. Okay, so you have already learned about asexual reproduction, the different ways by which living organism reproduce asexually. So what do you mean by asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction means here that reproduction which is carried out without the involvement of any reproductive organ. Okay, so here reproduction is carried out without the help of the reproductive organ, whereas sexual reproduction is carried out by the involvement of reproductive organ. That means in order to carry out sexual reproduction, the organism requires sexual organs, reproductive organs. Okay, so we'll talk about this thing subsequently. So our focus of discussion will be sexual reproduction. Okay, so here we will be talking about the sexual reproduction. We'll not talk about the asexual reproduction. You have already learned about the different ways by which living organism reproduces asexually. So there are different ways like binary fission, budding. Okay, so these are and stem cutting. Like for example, if you cut a stem of a rose and put it in a soil, so it grows into a new plant. So that is vegetative reproduction. We call it as vegetative reproduction. So, and then fragmentation, spore formation. So these are the different ways by which living organism shows asexual reproduction. That is, these are the asexual type of reproduction. So our focus of discussion is sexual reproduction, and the sexual reproduction what we are going to talk about is a sexual reproduction in case of the plants. Am I clear? So how do plants reproduce sexually? Okay. Okay. So sexual reproduction in plants. Okay. Now, in order to, as I said, in order to have this sexual reproduction, what is required here? Sexual reproduction requires the requirement or the involvement of sexual organs. Okay, organs, sexual organs are required. So sexual organs or the reproductive organ. So what is the reproductive organ of a plant? Okay, so the reproductive organ of a plant is what? The flower. Okay, so what is the reproductive organ of a flower? Plant? Flower. So flower, you are very much familiar with this term flower, and we all like this flower. But flower does not only adds beauty to the nature, but it is one of the most important part of a plant. That is, they are the reproductive part of a plant. Okay, so here in this class will be talking about this reproductive organ of the plant, that is the flower. So the characteristics, or rather to say the different parts of a flower, and what does this flower have which help in carrying out reproduction, and the different types of flowers, and some aspect related to this organ, that is the flower. Okay now? Okay. So our topic of discussion is the flower. So I think your chapter number is 3 and the chapter's name is the flower. So flower or flower. So what is flower? Flower is the, as I just now said, it is the reproductive organ. But how do we define flower? Flower is a specialized shoot in which the leaves are modified into floral structures. Okay, the flower structures. Floral structures means the flower, the structure of flowers. So flower is a modified shoot in which leaves are modified to floral structure. That means the floral structure are nothing but the modified leaves or the modified shoot of a plant. Okay. Now let us talk something about the flower. What does this flower have, and what and how does it help the plant in carrying out reproduction? Okay. So now if you see a flower, now it's a now before telling going to the depth of this chapter, now whatever the diagram and whatever the pictures, if I am unable to draw it on the blackboard, or sorry, on the board, so it will be shown on the screen. Okay, so almost all the figures are shown on the screen, and whatever I am telling you, the parts which I am telling you, it will be indicated in the screen itself, the diagrams. Okay, so even if I am not drawing on the whiteboard, so you can refer the figures that are displayed on the screen. Okay, so go through that also. Okay, now if you see a flower, now if this is a stem, now a flower may be attached to a branch or a stem with the help of a stalk. Okay, now clear? Now if this is a flower, now with the help of a stalk, this flower is attached to the main stem or a branch, which this stalk is called as pedicel. Okay, pedicle or CLE. Pedicel. Okay, so it is named as pedicel. Okay, now what is a pedicel? Pedicel is a stalk by which a flower is attached to the main stem. Okay, so that is your pedicle. Now in some plants or in some flowers, the pedicle may not be present. Okay, so the entire flower may be covering a portion of this main stalk. Okay, this part, that means this pedicle is absent, and this part of the flower may slightly surround the main stem and may grow. Okay, so those flowers which lack this pedicle, they are called as the sessile or sessile flower. So what are sessile flowers? Sessile flowers are those flowers which lack pedicel. Okay, pedicel. So stalkless flower we can say. So flower without any stalk. Okay. Now here along with the diagram which is displayed on the screen, the examples, the names, all these are being displayed on the screen. So you can take the examples, you can go through the examples which are being displayed on the screen also. Even if I am not writing it on the board, you can refer to the diagram that is being displayed on the screen. Okay, so for the examples and all this. So that is what the sessile flower is. So a stalkless flowers are called as sessile flower. Now, this pedicle, if you see, if I am showing it here, if this is a pedicle, okay, which is a stalk, okay, so at the tip of this pedicle is slightly swollen, okay, the tip of the pedicle is slightly swollen. So that swollen part of the pedicle, it is called as the thalamus. It is called as thalamus, okay, now, or receptacle. It is also called as receptacle or thalamus in simple language. Now, this is the portion. Now we can say that this is a condensed form of shoot. That is, the nodes, the internodes, all those things, the shoot part is condensed to form a swollen part at the tip of this pedicel. Am I clear? Okay. So now this, what is the function of this thalamus? The thalamus helps to hold, or this is the region where the entire floral parts are born. That means all the parts of the flower is born on the thalamus. So this is the place where the floral parts are born or attached. Clear now? So that is what the thalamus is. Now let us see the different floral parts or the different parts of a flower. So what are the different floral parts? Now, starting from out to in, okay, starting from outer region to the inner region, we have different, there are 4 different parts of a flower. So we call these 4 different parts as 4 holes. There are 4 holes. Okay. So what are the 4 holes of a flower? Okay. Now, let us see the 4 holes. We'll start from outer to and go inside. So those are the 4 holes. Number 1 is the calyx. Number 2 is corolla. Number 3 is your androecium. Then number 4 is gynoecium. So calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Am I clear now? Okay. So so the outermost part is your calyx, and as we go inner and inner, so we can say that the gynoecium is the innermost part of the flower or innermost hole of the flower. So there are 4 holes. So let us start one by one. The calyx, which is the outermost hole. Now if you see the calyx, so the first part which is in contact with the thalamus is the calyx. Now you may find here there is a thalamus, okay. Then, so at the lower part of the flower there is a greenish colored structure which is called as your calyx. Okay, so calyx is a collective name. Okay, so each individual part is called as sepals. Okay, so a number of sepals forms the calyx. So we can say calyx is a collective name and sepals are the individual name. Am I clear now? So now what is the function of this calyx? There are two functions. One, it encloses the entire flower during the bud stage. When the flower has not opened, when it is in the bud stage, it covers the entire flower inside and protects the flower from external injury. Number one. Number two, since calyx is greenish in color, so they contains chlorophyll and hence they help in the manufacturing of the food. Am I clear? So these are the two functions of the calyx, the protective function and manufacturing of food. So that is your calyx. Now, depending upon the arrangement of the sepals or the condition of the sepals, calyx may be two types, can be categorized into two types. If in some flowers what happens, the calyx may be united. That means the sepals may be united partially or completely. Like in this case, they are united. Okay, and sometimes the sepals may be free. Okay, as in case of your hibiscus and so. Now in hibiscus, you have the calyx in united condition. Okay, so such type of calyx or sepals, we call it as gamosepalous. So what is gamosepalous? Gamosepalous are united sepals, partially or completely, to form a tube-like or conical-like structure. Okay, so cone-like structure. So that is called as your gamosepalous. Now if the calyx are free, they are not united. So such type of calyx or sepals, they are called as polysepalous. So polysepalous and gamosepalous. Gamo means united, poly means free. Am I clear now? So polysepalous, free sepals, gamosepalous, united partially or completely. The sepals are partially or completely connected or united, fused to form one single structure. So that is called as your gamosepalous. Now, generally what happens, soon after the fertilization has taken place. Now the primary function of the flower, what is that? As I said, it is a reproductive organ and to carry out reproduction. So once the reproduction has carried out, has finished, that is the fertilization has taken place, then what happens, generally what happens, this calyx is shed down. Okay, so generally they fall off, they become dry and fall off. But in some cases what happens, they remain even after the formation of the fruit. Okay, so even after the fertilization, and the fertilization has created, or rather to say has helped the flower to become a fruit, then also the calyx remains. A very common example, if I want to give you, is tomato, brinjal. Okay, you can see a crown-like structure on the surface of the brinjal. Okay, or in tomato, you can see a greenish color with the help of, with a small stalk at the top. So that is your calyx. So such type of calyx which remains even after the formation of fruit is called as persistent calyx. So what is that? They are called as persistent T-A-N-T, persistent calyx. So what is persistent calyx? Persistent calyx are those calyx which remains even after the formation of fruit. Am I clear now? Okay, so that is your calyx. So as I said, what is the function of calyx? The calyx helps in the protection of the inner floral parts. Okay, that is the corolla, androecium and gynoecium in the bud stage, and since it is green, it manufactures food. Okay, now okay, so that is your calyx. Now let us come down to, there are something more that is related to calyx. I'll come to that after completing this corolla. Okay, okay, so now let us come to your corolla. Corolla is a collective nerve. Okay, that is the second hole of the flower, that is which is colored in nature. Now whenever you are seeing a flower, you are seeing from a distance, you are not seeing the calyx, you are not seeing the androecium gynoecium, rather you are seeing only the corolla, which is brightly colored. So this imparts color, or this imparts beauty to the flower. So corolla, simply we call it as the petals. Okay, so petals are together, that is collectively they are called as the petals. Okay, so you can see the flowers, there is the petals. Now individual units, they are called as the petals, but collectively they are called as corolla. Am I clear? Now what are the functions of corolla? Corolla, it attracts beauty to the, it adds beauty to the flower because of its color. Okay, it is colored. Okay, now not all petals are colored. Always remember, most of the day blooming flowers, they are colored in nature. Those flowers which are night blooming, okay, those are whitish in color. They are not colored, they are white in color. Okay, so it all depends upon the type of pollination the flower carries out. We'll talk about this pollination and all this thing in the next chapter, after completing this chapter. So what is the second function of this corolla is that, or the petals is that, to attract the pollinating agents. Okay, because of its color, bright color, the insects, the birds, the animals, they get attracted towards it in search, thinking that they may get something there as food. Okay, so they because of its color, they get attracted and visit that, and thus helps in the helps in carrying out the pollination process. So that is another function of the corolla. The third function is the protective function, that is androecium and gynoecium remains inside this flower. So that is inside this corolla. So corolla covers the androecium and gynoecium, okay, and protects it from external injury. That is the third function. The other function is that in some cases what happens, this corolla, they have special cells in them which produces scent, okay, odor. At the base of this flower or these petals, there are specialized cells which may give scent, okay, odor, smell, a good smell. So that helps in attracting the pollinating agents. Apart from this, there are also specialized cells at the base of these petals which help in producing nectar. So those are called as nectarii. Okay, we'll talk about that. Nectarii. So nectarii is specialized cells at the base of these petals which produces sweet smelling liquid which are called as nectar, because of which this insect gets attracted and visit that flower and helps to carry out the pollination process. Okay, so that is your petals, or the collective name is corolla. Just like calyx, petals may be free or may be united, partially or wholly. So accordingly, we have two types of corolla or flowers based on the category of the petals. That means whether if it is united or free. So we have, if the petals are united partially or completely, then they are called as gamopetalous. Gamopetalous. The other is, you can easily understand, polypetalous. Okay, so polypetalous and gamopetalous. So gamopetalous is united petals, whereas polypetalous, they are free petals. That means the petals are free from each other. Okay now? So that is your corolla or the petals. Am I clear now? Well, now, after understanding this, let us come to the main section of the flower, that is these two. So we say these two holes are the essential hole. Essential hole. Whereas these two are called as non-essential hole. Okay. So what do you mean by that? So essential and non-essential hole. Essential holes are those holes, that is the androecium and gynoecium are said to be essential holes because they are directly involved in the reproductive process. Okay. Whereas non-essential holes are not directly involved in the reproduction process. They help in carrying out the reproduction process, but they do not directly get involved. That means they are not directly involved in the process of reproduction. Whereas here in these two are the main reproductive part or the holes. So hence they are said to be essential hole. Okay. So androecium we say the male reproductive part, and gynoecium it is the female reproductive part. Okay now. So let us talk one by one. To start with, we have the androecium. Androecium. Androecium is the male, so, or we can also call it as the stamen. Okay. Collectively it is called as androecium. Now, a stamen is the male part which is the third hole from out. Okay, after the corolla you have the androecium. Okay, so the third hole of the flower. Now this androecium or the stamen, if you take one stamen, you can, it consists of two parts in them. It consists of two structures. Okay, one is a long stalk-like structure which is called as the filament. Okay, and the other is your anther. So you have two parts, the anther and the filament. So we can say this filament is a tubular stalk. Okay, just like pedicel, you have a stalk which helps in attaching the anther at its one end. Okay, so and thus holds the anther in its position. The anther is held with the help of this filament. Clear now? Now, anther, there is a bilobed anther, or there are two anthers. Okay, two bilobed. That is why it is called as bilobed. So there are two lobes of the anther, and each of these two lobes, they have two chambers. Now these two lobes are connected with the help of a tissue which is called as connective. Okay, both the lobes are connected by a connective. Clear? So now each of these lobes, okay, they consist of two rooms, or we call it as chambers. So there are two chambers, 1, 2 in this lobe, 1, 2 in this lobe. So there are two chambers in each of the lobe, and each of these chambers, okay, now if you see this, now each of these chambers are filled by dust-like particles which are called as the pollen grains. These are called as the pollen grains. Okay, pollen grains. So these pollen grains consist of the male gametes. Gamete means male sex cell. Okay, so male gamete is present in the pollen grain. So this pollen grain is present in the chambers of the anther, the chamber of the anthers. So each of these lobes of this anther, they are bilobed, as I said. Each of these bilobed anther consists of chambers. So each of these chambers are filled by this dust-like particles called as the pollen grains. Okay. Now, if you see the pollen grains, as I said, it consists of the male gametes, which is well protected by two outer coverings. So one is the outer covering, which is very hard and rough, okay, which is called as the exine, okay, the outer covering. And inner to this is another thin layer, which is called as the intine. It is called as the intine. So we have the outer covering, which is called as exine, the inner covering, which is called as the intine, and inside this you have the male gamete, that is the sperm. Okay, the male gamete. Now, usually and generally, the exine is pointed and teeth-like, but it is not in all pollen grains, but in some pollen grains they are smooth in nature, some they are sticky in nature, some they are hairy in nature. So it all depends upon the type of pollination the flower carries out or the plant carries out. Okay, so the intine is very thin, membranous, and they are made up of cellulose, which later on forms the pollen tube. I'll tell you, you will come to learn about this all later on when I teach you about the pollination and fertilization. So this intine forms the pollen tube, which carries the sperm to the female gamete. Okay, so that is your pollen grains. Okay, so that is your different, that is all about your androecium. Androecium is your male reproductive organ of a flower, which help in producing the male gamete present in the pollen grain. Okay, so depending upon now in some cases what happens, the filaments, what is the main function of this filament is to hold the anther and in such a manner that the pollination can easily carry out, whether it is wind pollination or bird pollination or insect pollination, whatever the type of pollination it might be. So they arrange themselves in such a manner so that they can show the anther or the pollen grains present in the anther and help in carrying out the pollination process in a very easy manner. So either this filament may be very long, hanging out of the flower, or it may be present in such a manner in the flower that when the insect visit that, they can easily come in contact with the pollen grains present at its tip. Okay. So based on that, we have different categories of the flower depending upon the arrangement of the filaments. Okay. So let us see the different categories of flowers based on this androecium or the arrangement of the filament of the androecium. So we have the polyandrous. Polyandrous means when the flowers, that means when the filaments, now if I want to show you the flower, okay, now if this is the flower, now each of these stamens may be free from each other. That means they are not at all attached or united. That means all the filaments are free from each other. So such type of filaments, they are called as polyandrous. Polyandrous means free androus or androecium. Am I clear? Then in some cases what happens, we have, this is number one. Number two, this entire filament, okay, they may be united to form a long tube-like structure where each of this, see, the anthers are free, but the filaments are all united to form one long stalk. Clear? You must have seen this in case of your China rose. Okay, in China rose you may find this. So this is a one, that means all the filaments here, you see, filaments of all the anthers are united to form one long stalk. So this is called as monadulphus. Okay, monadulphus. Monadulphus means single stalk, or that means the filaments unite to form one single stalk. Clear now? Similarly, if the filaments unite to form two different bundles, okay, if they unite to form two different bundles, where you see here, this is one bundle, this is another bundle, where the stamens are, the anthers are free from each other. Okay, but the bundles, and that means the filaments, they all unite to form two bundles. So they are called as diadulphus. Okay, diadulphus. Di means two, mono means one. So two bundles. So two bundles of filament. That means united filaments. That is called as diadulphus. Then we have polyadulphus. Okay, that means you can understand by this very word, you can say. So it forms many numbers of bundles, like in case of your Bombax. Okay, so they form a number of bundles, not only one, two, more than two. Okay, more than two bundles they form. That is called as polyadulphus. Okay, Bombax. Then we have diadulphus in case of your pea, mutter, like that. So, and monadulphus as in case of your China rose. So this is what your different types of androecium based on the union of this filament. Okay. Now, in some cases, like in case of your watermelon, must have seen watermelon, or the pumpkin, to be more specific, pumpkin. See, the filaments may be free from each other. Okay, but the anthers, they all are united. Okay, they all are united. And this union is in such a manner that they form a cylindrical, a circle. It forms a circle around the gynoecium. So the gynoecium may remain at the center, and all the anther, the united anther, encircles the style of the gynoecium. What is the style? I'll tell you. The style of the gynoecium. So it surrounds. So the style may be present at the center, and the anthers encircles that style of the gynoecium. So such type of arrangement is called as signaceous. Signaceous. It's called as signaceous. Am I clear? So what is signaceous? Signaceous is a united anther with free filaments. Okay now, so these are the different types of androecium. So gynoecium and the rest part we'll talk about in the next video. So whatever I've taught you, I hope must have understood. So in the second video, we'll talk about the gynoecium, the different categories of gynoecium. That means just now we had different categories of androecium. Similarly, we have different categories of androecium. So that we'll talk about in the next video as our class number 2. So before closing up, I want to tell you that whatever I've taught you, go through this in your from your book, and assignment will be given to you, or it will be uploaded to you as a PDF. Okay, go through that assignment, find out the answers to those questions which are given in the assignment, write down, answer those in your fair copy. Okay then, so till we meet again, thank you, stay home, stay safe,